And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection, I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. 1 month after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission presented its executive summary of the findings, including 94 calls of action, the Unifor Canadian Council voted unanimously to support all the 94 recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. On today's Open Connection, Unifor Indigenous Relations Officer Gina spoke.
We are totally not the average union. So it was 2018 where our president decided, the 94 calls to action, when Senator or the Honorable Murray Sinclair had, done all that work, and then what are the governments doing? What is anybody doing? So he decided at that time we needed to do something, and then just created the position and said, do you want it? So I go, yes. But it was really like, what are you going to do? It's a blank slate. And he says, I don't know what it's supposed to look like, so I'm going to leave it up to you to figure it out. It's about the history of Indigenous people before settlers came to Canada, to going through the treaties, to all the hardships of what happened to us, Indian agents, having to get passes to leave your community that they forced you into, and all the way up until today, which is like you're talking about truth and reconciliation and all the changes, and like there's so much more we need to add to this. So on one hand, that's part of what I just do, but we need to add it to the course in writing so that someone else can do that. But it's a 1-week course that we have at our education center, and they were just trying to upgrade it and try to figure out, okay, it's not really working the way they wanted to. So they asked if I would go through it with them, and I said I will, but I am not going to do it. But here I am a few years later. Well, part of my job is finding those things. And sometimes people might reach out with something, send it to me and say, hey, we need support for this. And most times it's something that we, especially when it comes to an Indigenous-led project, a lot of times we're able to help some way or another. Like, it may not be the amount of money they want, but we can also help on a smaller level sometimes. And with this one, this came about for us because of during COVID. Oh, let me back it up a little bit. Before that, we were going to walk the Highway of Tears, like from Prince George to Prince Rupert. And I'd already been doing the work in Prince Rupert, meeting with families, with the chiefs. And what an honor that was to meet the chiefs. And it was during the all-native basketball tournament, so a lot of them were already there. But and I was so I really wanted to walk that highway and know what other families have done, and I guess that show that I really meant, I really taking the full thing to heart. It wasn't just something simple. But, and then COVID hit and we couldn't do it. So I ended up, because of our course, Turtle Island, participants wanted to do more. And that was what I came up with, was let's walk the highway, not walk, but we'll do a cross-country relay in supporting with Cheers to Hope. First of all, I was blown away at all the people honking the horns. And they weren't honking to get out of the way. They were actually honking in support. I love that. I did notice that there's no police waiting, even though we came from the police station. But it was very intimate, because I've done the Vancouver ones a few times now. And I've done walks in Winnipeg, where I'm from. But it just, because it was, even though it was a big group, it was a smaller group than what I've been in many times. But it was the families, right? These are all families that are affected by this. And I think that hit me hard. So you're sitting there knowing that you're amongst all these families who have lost someone, and that's heavy. I I'm a very emotional person, so I like, you try to sit there and try not to cry, because it's not about me, but my heart hurts for them. And
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Hi everyone, I'm Bernadette Smith. I'm the co-founder of Drag the Red, and Drag the Red is a group that started in 2016 when Tina Fontaine went missing in the Red River. Another gentleman, Kyle Keymatch, whose sister Amber Bosch went missing in 2010, helped co-found it. So the both of us have been dragging in honor of our sisters, my sister Claudette Osborne-Tayo and his sister Amber Bosch. We've probably helped recover over 24 bodies from the Red River. Anyone that's ever gone in since Drag the Red has started has been recovered from the Red River. We think of ourselves as kind of three-pronged approach. So being proactive and searching so that, if somebody goes in the river, we find them right away. Second is community building, bringing people together. We've found when our sisters went missing that not a lot of people were aware of the issue or came to help our families. So we really wanted to help families and community understand that families need support, help families feel that they're not alone, and give them hope that somebody's out there searching. And that's our third pillar, is hope. Having families know that there's somebody out there that cares, that there's community members out there that are actively searching, and that, the families that don't have their loved ones at home know that someone's still, actively out there and could possibly bring their loved one home.
Thank you for staying with us. In 1971, the Native Summer Games held in Enoch, Alberta, drew 3,000 participants competing in 13 sports and many cultural events. Today, the North American Indigenous Games is a large-scale, multi-sport, cultural event rich in history, often intertwined with cultural practices, spiritual beliefs, and skill building for daily life. Let's return the conversation with Gina.
We've done the North American Indigenous Games, and that's where I met my friend Leanne, who is now the BC Regional Chair now. But that one almost didn't happen. And thanks to the funding from Unifor, they were able to make that happen in 2017, I think it was. Yeah, and we've had a boat made for Drag the Red, which is again, around MMIWG, but out of Manitoba. And what that is about is actually the Red River, where we've lost some of our loved ones in there, and we're dragging the river to look for them. And their boat, it came about because of Tina Fontaine. In the boat that they had, someone had donated, it kept breaking down, and we fixed it once, and the second time they go, never mind, let's just build them a boat. So Bernadette, who is now a minister for the NDP in Manitoba, she and I went boat hunting, couldn't find anything that was suitable. Like, you got beautiful fancy boats and everything else, like, okay, that doesn't cut it. So we ended up having a custom-made, what would be sort of like a fishing boat. An aluminum boat that'll it'll outlast all of us. And we had, winch put on, we had lights put on. It's got double tanks so that if you're searching, you don't have to keep going back in to fuel up. But if it's raining, we got a top for it. And the lights for night, because sometimes you find out someone's in the water even, and they go help searching. So those are some of the big ones we've done. Last year I was here, and we came out to support the group, and it was actually when we did it, because we've been doing the relay the last 2 years, and even though we've done the relay, when I was here, I was so overwhelmed. I was there as everybody was coming in. Unifor had a team out there, and I got to run a little bit of it. And but as you're experiencing the people where they're all coming together by the park, I just started to cry. I was like, it was just when Gladys came to hug me, and I just started crying. I just couldn't. It's like. It's hard, right? Because you know why people are doing it, and all these people here, it's their families, and we all have some family that's either been murdered or missing, but to hear the drums, like, you know how the meaning of the drum is like the heartbeat, and I guess I just felt between the drumming and seeing the families and knowing that they're doing a special presentation for Lorna's brother, and I just I find it overwhelming in many ways but at the same time, like feel honored to be part of it.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
This requires a deliberate set of actions to make that happen.
And I had said, we will see an Indigenous person on the board. And we said, this is what we wanted.
In 2018, Unifor decided that they needed to do more around reconciliation, to do a position that would advance reconciliation.
I mean, being Indigenous, you don't have that seat at the table. And now there's a seat opening up.
Michelle Wilson is our second seat BIWOC on the National Executive Board.
I'm absolutely honored to be working with the NEB, Gina Smoke, Leanne Marsh, amazing women that I can move forward with.
It's an amazing day for Indigenous folks.
One of the other ways that Unifor can participate in, making sure that we're making a difference everywhere is through supporting some of the work that's going on in our community and in our society.
Welcome back to Open Connection. In 1889, Omaha member Susan LaFlèche Pictou became the first Indigenous woman to earn a medical degree. She used her education to advocate for public health and the rights of her people, leaving an indelible mark on Indigenous community. Let us return to the conversation as Gina shares why we need heroes.
It's like a dream job, really, because I get calls or I meet people, I get to network, I get to meet people across the country, but it's not just meeting them, it's like hearing their stories and finding ways to make a difference for communities. And so I think about the young kids coming up, and I want to make a difference in their lives. I want them to see that there's so much more potential, like all these little kids in these different communities that feel like they don't have hope. I didn't even feel like I never thought I'd ever leave the reserve. Like my vision, or lack of, was that I'm going to grow up in this community. Okay, getting married. Okay, I got to have kids. All things I just expectations. But in the meantime, I was compared to that movie, The Village, if you've ever watched it, where you're in this little locked-in community, you don't know what's outside there because it's scary. So I worked off the reserve since I was a kid, but it wasn't that far off my community. And when my marriage broke up, I went back to school, and it was the first time I ever left the reserve and actually moved away for a while, and discovering that there's way more and that there's way more for us to do. And it was media, actually, that I went into, and they were trying to get Indigenous people into mainstream media, and I wanted hope for my kids too. So I have a son and a daughter, but it wasn't just them again, it's still me thinking about all those kids that don't know that they've got all this potential, whether it's sports or, different academics, and then I wanted to put billboards up everywhere and show people, show our people, look, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer. Now we got a premier for, Indigenous premier, and we got Indigenous, politicians, like ministers, and now I get to be a director of a huge union, like in a position of a huge union, and that's sometimes it's kind of a load because it's like heavy and you feel like you got to do like something, and then but no one's forcing me to do anything other than what I already do. But I just kind of feel like it's like, now I got all this on my shoulders, got to perform somehow. And But my vision hasn't changed. It's still to educate our members, educate the people in the community. And I speak from the heart all the time, and I just hope that, I know I don't reach everybody, no one ever reaches everybody, but there are people out there whose minds will take a turn and go, hey, wait a minute, I'll think about that. I got to think about what she just said, or giving a different perspective on our residential school families that survived, and now actually hearing the stories and breaking myths and seeing that we're not welfare bums, terms I used to hear, or, lazy Indians. And no, you know what? You just don't look for us. We're actually right there. You just don't see us if you have a certain vision in your head of who we are. And I just think that, no, we're right here, and I'm standing tall and proud.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
And one of the things that we wanted to do and that we had discussed was that we wanted to decolonize this space. So often I talk about that my priority as the Minister of Families is decolonizing child welfare. But also, the other part of the work that I do is decolonizing this space, this building, the department, the way that work has traditionally been done to address or look at issues that are facing Indigenous peoples, but in this case, certainly Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited. And one of the ways in which we decided and envisioned that decolonizing work was the establishment of a matriarch circle. Every single matriarch that we have as a part of our circle represents the beauty and the diversity of Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited in our province. And we wanted to ensure that we were doing work differently. And that is to say that often the work of government traditionally has been work that's done to people. And this is the antithesis to that. But more importantly, they were a part of the visioning and establishment and development of our provincial strategy, Minuaweaki Kwayak. It's a different way of doing government. The matriarch circle also, though, is about recognizing all of those women, all of those matriarchs, all of those elders, all of those youth, all of those advocates, all of those residential school survivors, all of those 60 Scoop survivors who have come before us. All of those phenomenally powerful, resilient, generous, beautiful, loving women that came before us, that have allowed women like myself and the Minister for Housing, Addictions and Homelessness, all of us that are in this chamber, we're only here because of the women that came before us. The women that survived colonization, the women that resisted colonization, we're only here because of them.
Intertwined with the Indigenous and European traditions in North America, the ribbon skirt evolved from European broadcloth skirts adorned with ribbons and embroidery. Ribbon skirts became a symbol of cultural identity and pride, gaining significance as a visual representation of Indigenous identity and artistry. In this final segment of Open Connection, Gina shares what happened while she was trying to catch a flight.
Any Indigenous person, young, older, I didn't feel proud of who I was till actually not that long ago. And it was really sad. And I think, so proud of who I am, so proud of my heritage, and so proud of seeing our drummers and our singers, and even more proud every time I see the youth singing and in singing in their languages, and which I can't do and wouldn't sing anyway because I don't have a voice to sing. But it's like, when Minister Fontaine in Manitoba set up this matriarch circle, she called us in, and I think that was one of the proudest days of my life. And that to be part of this group of women that there was younger to elder. It was well thought out of how we're all from these different communities, but different walks of life. And I thought, I don't even compare to them. Like, they've got all these titles, which none of them act like they have titles. You know what I mean? So I don't really put much into titles. I just don't know how to describe it. But here I am, and I just felt so honored. I can't explain it. But she asked us all to wear ribbon skirts, and it took me a long time to wear a ribbon skirt. So as I was leaving there, I couldn't stay for the full press conference. I was rushing off to the airport for work, and I had my skirt on. I was going to take it off, but then, no, I'm not taking it off. I'm wearing it out of here. Then I got to the airport, and I thought, no, I'm not taking it off. And I had these beautiful earrings that a friend of hers had made me, and they're gorgeous. They hung down there, just stunning, and this skirt, and everybody was looking. And I thought, normally, if you knew me, I don't like people looking at me. I don't like sitting in front of a camera. I don't like talking in front of crowds. But as I walked through, I was so proud of who I was that day. And I just thought, yeah, look at me. Not Gina, but look at the Indigenous person, that I can walk proudly through that airport. And yeah, you look at me, because here I am. I don't know if I'm necessarily ready, even if you had given me warning about it, that I'd be speaking in front of a crowd. Most of my stuff that I do is off the top of my head anyway. Like when I'm teaching, even though we have books, I usually have a person teaching with me on this Turtle Island course. So the person majority of the time sticks to the course. I speak from my heart on what I know, and because I'm not exactly young, so I've got a lot of experience of all sorts of stuff. So I'm able to talk about, the water issues of how we didn't have running water growing up. You get to talk about, I talk about my family and what they've gone through with residential schools, or even MMIWG, between family, friends. Like back home we have the landfill, which is huge, and that was a real battle, and with the government refusing and using that as part of their tools to get elected, which was so bizarre. I just thought that is probably one of the most cruelest things I've ever witnessed in our human race, and I just was stunned. But so all those things make I guess in a way, as hard as it is for me to speak to crowds, it makes it easier because I talk about what I experience. Lorna, they really appreciate everything we've done, and they make you feel like family. They've welcomed me in, and they always call me family. And it's when I travel, I don't feel alone when I'm in different places, because I've got people like Lorna who are so special, Lorna and Denise and Gladys, that it's okay for me to cry on their shoulders, even though they're also, living with all these things themselves.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.